And finally tonight, some closing thoughts on the economy from a super saver. Economics correspondent Paul Salmon has that story.
And now, another adventure with Savings Man.
For a decade plus, this muscle-bound financial advisor has been urging Americans to mend their profligate ways.
Oh dear, I can't afford that.
Charge it. You can pay it off later.
Not so fast, credit card guy.
Savings Man.
For most of the time, too few of us listened. Dallas Salisbury runs ChooseToSave.org, the funder of these TV public service announcements. But if lots of folks saw them,
Thanks, Savings Man.
No, thank you.
why didn't the super saver superhero save the day?
For every dime that we spent, others were spending millions, telling them that the smart thing to do was to borrow. The smart thing to do was to consume. The smart thing to do with your house was to refinance and put part of that money in the stock market, to take out a home equity line of credit so that you'd be ready to spend more.
And with 0% down, all you have to pay on this mortgage is the interest.
Now that's affordable.
Watch out, you two. This is not your typical mortgage guy. He's really a subprimate.
But if the road to ruin was paved with perverse incentives and upgraded with debt, the American consumer has done an abrupt about-face. Personal savings rates were nearly 3% in December, up sharply from a negative savings rate just 3 years ago. The sudden turnaround has amplified the shock to an economy long based on consumerism, and has the government now scrambling to make up the shortfall via stimulus spending. Indeed, governments the world over are urging consumers not to deleverage, pay down their debts, but to spend more instead. This public service ad from Finland casts the recession as an invisible pet on the floor, foolishly fed by frightened savers. But Dallas Salisbury is a voice of dissent. It's about time we saved, he says. If not now, when?
Saving aggressively is probably at the individual level and the household level more clearly important and necessary than at any time in the last several decades.
But do you feel a touch unpatriotic? I mean, the advice you're giving people could undermine the U.S. economy.
I don't think it'll undermine it. I personally think that if we will spend another 5, 10, 15 years deleveraging, we might actually get back to where individual real incomes start to go up again, and to where people are able to save and spend money on real things as opposed to spending so much money sending it to some financial institution in the form of interest payments.
I'm guessing here, but I think a lot of people in our audience listening will say, 15 years? We have to wait? This guy's got to be crazy.
Individuals want to feel like all this is going to turn around quickly. But you've done programs on Social Security, on Medicare, about what the next 20 and 30 years look like in spending on entitlement programs. To me, the good news about the current economic situation is it may well be just exactly the shock therapy that we need to get us to focus on some of the changes that are really needed and on, if you will, becoming responsible as individuals and responsible as a nation.
Savings Man here with a story for you about two young spenders.
Whereas up to now, no matter how Savings Man tried to get his message across, it fell on deaf ears.
As they grew older, they spent all their pay on fancy cars, houses, 2 lattes a day. They lived in the moment, never saving a dime. When they tried to retire, they'd run out of time.
How many years do you expect before we get back to the level of prosperity we were enjoying?
Personally, as somebody that's about to move into my 60s, I don't personally expect to see it in my lifetime. And since my father lived till 94 and I expect to live beyond 100, that says in quite a while.
In a world where saving for the future is not as popular as spending for the present, only one man can help.
Meanwhile, ChooseToSave.org will keep its cartoon champion on the air.